Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to share how I taught my 3-year-old to read, and now he's even spelling words at 4.5 years old.
The cloud moved quickly. The great red spot is a giant storm. It has been going on for 100 of years. It gets tiny in our solar system.
A, good. What?
Oh yeah, C.
Yeah, read out the answer so you'll remember.
Gas giant.
Right. And then what about this one? What is the
great red spot? Giant storm. Volcano.
And for my method, you don't need to buy any courses, no expensive materials. It's the most logical way to teach your kids to read, and you can do it in pretty much no time. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that you want to do if you want your kids to learn anything is to model that behavior. You want your children to read in front of them, read with them, read behind their backs, stop scrolling, get some books, and start reading yourself. Once this happens in the household, everybody that is an adult that is modeling this behavior, kids will automatically get interested. Because something like reading, remember, it's a pretty hard skill to acquire. If somebody suddenly asks you to go and learn how to speak Russian or start reading Russian, if that's not already a language you know it's going to be hard to learn those characters and the sounds and everything that a language entails. So model the behavior, but wait for your child to be a little bit interested. When I started seeing some interest in my son, it was around 3.5 years old. I obviously jumped on that opportunity because that seemed like his sensitive period. And I got all the resources that I could, collected them together, and step by step, we introduced all the concepts to him, and he started reading pretty much in no time. So the number one step in teaching your kids to read is to avoid one mistake. I've noticed a lot of parents will have their children memorize the ABCD song, and every time you go anywhere and you have gifts, all the toys are singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it's great for them to know all of that. But if you can help it, don't bother with telling them the names of the letters just yet, especially if your kids are young. And how we did this was, I didn't buy any cards or anything like that. Just, again, this was a book. Probably a friend or a relative picked it up from Costco and gifted it to us. And it does have that ABC song that plays all the time and annoys me. But I kind of ignored that. But every time I was interacting with my kids, what I did was not focus on this is the letter A. I would focus instead on the sound. So if you can help it, don't teach them ABCs, the letter names yet. First, teach them the sounds. And I'll explain to you how to teach those sounds, especially vowels and consonants. If you want, you can separate them. It'll be easier for them to understand the concept of vowels, and the reading comprehension will go a little bit faster. But none of it is mandatory. This is language. This is a language that, especially if it's spoken enough in the household, they will get it. It doesn't have to be extremely scientific, because with language, children are such natural learners that you don't have to follow too many rules. Just a few simple logical things, and your kids will be good to go very soon. So let's just look at the sounds. Oh, I don't even have to open the book. Right here. This is not A. You have to introduce this to them as ah, like ant or alligator, which is also shown in this book. So it kind of helps them to see some of these pictures, the astronaut and everything, but again, not required. First, what they need to know is the sound. that this letter makes. This one makes the B sound. B, B, bat. I am a native Hindi speaker, so when I was teaching my kids, I would say B sound, and that's fine too. I know some people think that that's incorrect and the kids won't be able to merge different sounds together, but I haven't noticed that in my experience. I just did A, B, K, D, E, F. And if you want to have that extra refinement, you can do A, B, K, D, E, F, F. So just the F sound, fan, because the next sound will be taken care of by the vowel. So similarly, you go through all of these sounds and teach the kids exactly how these letters should sound. So if the kids can memorize the sounds instead of the letters, that is going to help them how to read. I'll leave a couple of video links below where a teacher or an instructor has gone into more detail with certain sounds, because if I started teaching sounds here, this video will be too long. But for example, they will show you all the sounds of these letters, and then compounding sounds like SH will become sh, sh. So we all know this as adults, but it's good to just go through it once and then slowly in piecemeal manner start introducing these sounds. Maybe do 3 sounds a week with your children, and if they're catching up quickly, you know their pace the best, just go through them with more sounds as their skill and interest grows. The reason I mention to avoid teaching them the ABCDs first is because if you have to write the word mad, and that is M-A-D, what does M-A-D, M-A-D, is that what the word is going to sound finally? It's not going to make sense in their brains because the M is not the sound that M makes in mad. Another example is like jet, J-E-T. Is it J-E-T? J-E-T or J-E-T? No, it's jet. So teaching them the ABCs first is going to actually hamper their reading. Now, once they know the sounds, the next logical step is to show them how to blend the sounds. And for blending, you can start with small 3-letter words, maybe even 2-letter words, depending on, again, your child's interest. But we straight went to the Bob books after this. So these are the Bob books. I have the full set. It's like a set of 12 books. You can purchase this very inexpensively on Amazon, or just get it from your library. These are very popular, and you'll see in a minute why. So for example, this is one of the first sets, so it's very easy to read, and you can start with the title of the book. These books are good because they're very, very tiny, and you know, when the child reads the whole book cover to cover, they feel really good that they read the whole book. So we really enjoyed it. My son and daughter both practice with these books.
N. What is W-A-S?
Sound it out.
V-A-S. Vase.
Was.
Balls.
So I recommend these. So, and now here you can see, once they know the sounds of these letters, they can go, ha, ah, ah, and then they know that this is hop. Or you can introduce these merging sounds like ha, ah, ha, ah, ha, a couple of times, then have them repeated and do the same with the rest of the letters. And if they don't have the letter sounds mastered yet, just as you read the books, remind them. It's no big deal. If you want, you can note down on the side which letters they are having more trouble with and practice that separately. So once they start blending these sounds, they will start to, come across words like these, snap, and you can just go back to when you were teaching them blending 2 consonants like SN. So it'll be sn, sn, and they'll be able to connect that sn to the a to the p. That's all that reading is. Of course, there are more complex words like sight words that are very notoriously famous. For example, the word right or light. But again, like, instead of memorizing these words, it's best to figure out some rules. Like, no matter how weird the word is, they all fall into certain groups. For example, would, could, should. These all have some sort of method to the madness. So no point memorizing that would is would, but I try to make it funny now that my 4-year-old is reading longer texts. Obviously these words come up and I just say, oh, wouldn't this sound like wild? Oh my gosh, wild is so wild, but it is would. And he'll, just by repetition and us doing this over and over, we can go through these sight words. Like this one, do you remember we did this one time?
Coward.
Coward is?
Coward.
Could. And then there will be vowed would be would. So I would recommend, even with sight words, try to use as many real sounds of the letters as possible. It will make more sense in their brains instead of just saying, oh, I just have to memorize this, which will also be part of their learning process. There will be some repetition involved. Example is word like you, Y-O-U. It actually is like yow, but it's you. And again, if you think about it, the vowel of would was also would. W-O-U becomes woo. So Y-O-U becomes you. So find your own patterns. Memory is sometimes very personal, and we can discuss more about memory in another video, but this is exactly how I teach my kids to read sight words. Use those sounds of the letters and try to make some sense out of it. Another thing that I don't like to do is put a word next to a picture, like lion, L-I-O-N, next to a lion, because they're now just associating certain letters together with this picture of a lion. So when they see it out of context inside a book, but there's no lion, they won't be able to read it. So just focus on those sounds, merging the sounds. There's no other great method to teach fluent reading. So have your sounds ready, have them learn the sounds, have them merge the sounds, and then just practice, read a lot. Then once you start seeing them read the cereal box or the milk carton, then you'll know that this child is really getting into it.
Oat, coconut, sprouted pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds. Easy.
Like I said, whatever you're reading, include them in it. If there is a text message from your friend and it's okay for them to read, have them read it sitting right next to you, because all that we are doing is immersing them into this world and they'll be reading really fast. Now, I'll quickly point out some mistakes that parents make with the reading, and hopefully you can avoid those just to fast track this. One is obviously don't compare your kids with another child. Some kids are reading right now, others are sewing, knitting, surfing. Who knows what's going on in their brains? So just focus on what your kids are interested in and what their skill level is. So don't compare. If my kid, I said, is reading at 3 or 4 years old and yours is not reading at 6, it's okay. Everybody will learn how to read. They learn at 9, at 10. I have a friend, she's an English teacher. She's a very voracious reader. She never read anything till she was 9 years old, and she's fine. She's doing great in her career. So no need to rush it. If they don't feel interested, give it a rest. Focus on some other skills that you think they might be more interested in. Come back to it after 6 months, 1 year, who knows, they're already into it now. It also helps to have like a friend, a reading club. If you have some friends of similar ages, maybe like, within a 3-4 year age range, especially when they see older kids read, they will be more motivated to read. This did happen with my son. My daughter is 3 years older than him. And as she was going through all of these Bob books, he wanted to read them too. So try to find like a friends group if you think that you're having a little bit of trouble. You see the interest, but they're really, just not sitting down or getting so much into it. You can try this out, but again, don't push them. Reading is extremely hard. If you're an English only speaker, go try to learn Hindi words and try to read it. Have some empathy, understand that that's going to be challenging for you. So give a lot of grace to your kids. Next thing that I would avoid is giving them too much screen time with reading apps and reading games. And yes, play games on paper, and I'll show you a game in a minute, but don't over-index on apps and screen time for them to learn how to read. It's just gonna take away their focus. And I've mentioned this before on my channel, that when there is too much flashy stuff going on in their lives, their brain stops producing dopamine for when things get boring, when things are as boring as books. So we still want to balance pain and pleasure for our kids. So it's okay if you guys are traveling and they still want to practice something a little bit in a flight, or circumstances that are out of your control. It's okay to give them the screen, but don't have that be a primary method for teaching. I feel like the focus will be so much more, especially when you involve their hands. And that brings me to the next section of writing and also learning spellings. We've been having a lot of fun with this game called Spelled. It's right here. It was like $9 on Amazon, and it has given us so much joy. There are basically these decks that have, let me just show you one. So it has a picture of a pineapple, and the child has to say the word pineapple. Every time you say the word, you get 1 point, so everybody gets a point. And then if they write it down on a paper, I give them extra points. And then if they can't spell it yet, there are these 3 options of how to write pineapple here, and they can probably choose the right one. If you think that they couldn't get the spelling, you can practice it separately. And another fun thing that we are doing with our kids is we've played these decks a few times. They are getting really good at the spellings. They love to write, especially when it's like 3 or 4 of us writing them together. We are trying to design our own spelled decks. So for example, here there's a picture of a bunny, and my daughter came up with this. She wanted to make a card with 10. I cut these cards with cardstock, the exact same size. And then just now we are doing art. We are, kind of mimicking the gameplay of this, but personalizing our own cards. What this does is they're not only just learning how to spell, read, and write, but they're also learning how to create a whole product by itself. Like, products don't just come from, us filling out worksheets. Real world useful products have art in them. They have some logic. And then we're going to write 2 incorrect spellings and 1 correct spelling of the word 10. And what that does is, I had my kids practice this in a notebook first, so they have their lists ready, and all day today we are going to be building these cards. I'll put some clips if I have. And all day today we'll be building these cards, and they're very excited to meet their friends on Friday, where we meet for our homeschooling group, and they're going to just do the game with them with the decks that they created by themselves. So, and the best part about this is, I've noticed many times, especially my daughter, she doesn't want to write because she's very afraid of incorrect spellings. So what we do is, when we are doing this game, they can come up with any word that they would like in their deck, and we welcome them to write 2 incorrect spellings because that's part of the gameplay, and this takes away the fear of mistakes from their brains. So for example, for this very simple spelling of 10, we're just going to write 3 options. 1 will be the correct spelling, and then 2 can be wrong spellings. So 1 can be 10 and 1 can be 10. For a 3-year-old, this is a great game to play. They can choose which vowel they think is the correct one. And if they get it wrong, no problem, but they still get points for saying the word out loud. So I've noticed that when something has a purpose, kids are more involved. And now with the reading, writing, spellings, we are involving their hands, their minds, their entire body, their art and everything, so that they can create a product end to end instead of just filling out a worksheet and then forgetting about it. This is something that they can take pride on and then share it with their friends, inspire their friends to build products like these. This has always been our style of teaching and learning, that I'll find ways for the kids not just to do something for practice, but also to create as much as possible. So one other tip that I can give you when learning the sounds of the letters, it's 26 letters. Go slow, maybe do 3 to 4 at a time, but you can also gamify it. You can put like 3 cards of different sounds. Ask your kids to play something like slapjack. So as soon as they see the sound you can decide that the sound will be the one that they need to slap, and you show them quickly different letters. As soon as they see the M or the sound, they have to slap it. Gamify it. Again, bring their bodies and consciousness into the whole process, and it'll be so fun for them. Before you know it, within 2 or 3 days, they're going to come and beg you to play this sound game. and they'll be masters of all these sounds. This is how I've noticed that learning happens the fastest. Not that I put any deadlines on it, but once the kids get so interested, the learning just skyrockets. Well, this was my process of teaching my kids how to read, write, and spell. We are having a blast following these methods. If you do the same, please don't forget to tell me in the comments below. I love to read your comments and I try to reply to as many as possible. And if you want to know how I'm teaching my kids math and how they're excelling at it at a rapid pace, watch this video. It's very comprehensive and it'll give you many great ideas about how to teach math to your kids. So this is all for today. I hope you stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.